It's time to take a look at the best CPUs for gaming and production in May 2025. Welcome back to PC Builder, I'm Jason. Now, AMD and Intel have dropped absolutely massive price cuts on CPUs across the spectrum. We'll go through the best production CPU and best gaming CPU at every budget level, and we'll cover whether or not you should buy now or you should wait. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel, and of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it. This video is sponsored by VIP SCD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows licenses and that terrible Activate Windows watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SCD Key and get a Windows 10 or 11 OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 30% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom! Windows is fully licensed for a crazy low price. And they have Microsoft Office licenses too. Use the links in the video description. So what's new since we looked at the best gaming CPU out there in March? Yeah, tariffs, that's what's new. So what exactly is going to be hit by tariffs if you live in the United States? Should you expect these prices to go up? Well, right now, the way it stands is a lot of semiconductor products, particularly PC components, are exempt from what were called the reciprocal tariffs. Those are the tariffs that the US and China kept putting on each other in the big trade war, but there's been a big pause on that for PC components and other kinds of laptops, desktops, gaming monitors, things like that. So that's good news. However, there is still 20% tariffs on these items for tariffs that went into effect before all that happened. The trade war stuff happened back in March that we are seeing. And we are seeing the prices of CPUs tick up about 15% or so at retail. We'll go through pricing in just a second. But what can you expect in terms of prices to go up? The one big one is probably PC cases out there because there's an additional aluminum tariff that is in effect right now that's absolutely hammering PC case manufacturers. So right now there is stock of pre-tariff PC cases on the market. If you want to build a gaming PC out there, you're thinking about CPUs, I would also probably pick up one of your cases right now. Let's start off with new CPU launches. AMD is reportedly ready to announce the Ryzen 9000G APUs based on their Gorgon point. Now, what are these? Similar to the 8000G APUs, these are CPUs with an integrated graphics component that's stronger than most integrated graphics out there and capable, let's see, 8000 series was of playing games at very low 1080p settings. However, I recommended against getting them because they had very limited PCIe bandwidth for your GPU, which was going to cause a lot of problems when you did upgrade to a discrete GPU out there. And they were never very cheap. In fact, they were very, very expensive for what they were. 9000G, we don't have a lot of details. They are rumored to use RDNA 3.5 cores on them. And people are estimating that the performance in terms of the GPU, the integrated GPU, is going to basically roughly be RTX 3050 8GB levels. Yeah, nothing exciting out there. Again, we'll have to see about their PCIe connectivity. No details on that just yet. And the prices. The 8000 series APUs were announced at really stupid prices that never made them make sense. Again, especially with their limited PCIe connectivity. So we'll have to wait and see. Switching over to Intel CPU news, they're going to cut the price of the Core Ultra 7 to 65K and KF by 25%. This is not just a reduction at retail. This is a reduction in the recommended retail price that Intel's listing them at. 25% price cuts, pretty steep on that. In addition, they are going to give you a couple of free games if you buy any of the Core Ultra CPUs, not Raptor Lake or older CPUs, just the Core Ultra this time. They're going to give you both Sid Meier's Civ 7, which was not a well-received game. However, I have heard that there's a lot of fixes coming to it. Mixed receptions you can see here, but technically a $70 value on Steam. And then Dying Light the Beast. This was originally going to be a DLC for Dying Light 2. However, they're turning it into a standalone game. The release date on this just says 2025. But at any rate, Intel is desperate to sell those Core Ultra CPUs. AMD also has a game bundle that they're doing right now. This is the Monster Hunter Wilds game bundle you get with Ryzen 9000 series CPUs, so the 9600X or higher, except for the X3D CPUs, or the 7700 or higher 7000 series CPUs, except again for the X3D ones. Now, this is supposed to expire on May 10th. However, AMD does have a history of extending these further if they like what they see with it. So fingers crossed, or they may replace it as well. Let's jump into current pricing for AMD Ryzen CPUs in May 2025. Starting off with the more budget-oriented CPUs, this is the Ryzen 5600X, 5600, 5600T, and the 5600 XT. They're all roughly the same performance level. You can see ticking up just a little bit, about a 5% increase right now. Actually, the 5600 XT, as I'm filming it, this is the cheapest one to get, $129. Don't get super excited. It's not that much faster than a regular Ryzen 5600. But the good news is it does come with included stock cooler, which is plenty for it. Ryzen 5700X continues to come down in price right now, $140, basically $139. It went down $1 as I was filming this. Pretty good CPU, however, it does not include any kind of cooler with it, so that's usually another $20. For those of you hoping to do an upgrade of an existing AM4 system, the 5700X 3D, still stupid expensive, $269. In fact, I think I just clicked on it again. It's a different third-party seller. You can really only buy this right now through third-party sellers. You cannot get it through a regular retailer any longer for $275. Now, when I talked to AMD at CES, they said they were going to continue to make this part, so I don't know if it's just like super high demand for it, or if it's just like maybe they are starting to phase it out. Moving over to more mid-range Ryzen AM5 CPUs like the 7600, 7600X, and the 9600X. Look at that 9600X price came down 7%, down to $208. In fact, if I filmed this 2 days ago, it was $185 with the free game, a totally bonkers deal. And Newegg also had it on a bundle, and they often bundle either the 7600 or the 9600X with a free SSD as well. Right now, they don't have it with the 7600. 7600X is a SATA SSD. I don't really consider that much of an interest. However, right now, over at Newegg, 9600X with a free 500 gigabyte NVMe SSD and the Monster Hunter game bundle. And remember, this was $185 a couple days ago. Fingers crossed we see that price come back. But even at $208, this could be an insane value, and we'll have to see where it stacks up later in the video. Shifting over to the higher end CPUs in the Ryzen 7000, 9000 series lineup, the 9700X had been all the way down to $285 as well, again, a couple of days ago with that free game bundle. However, right now as I'm filming, it's popped back up to $309. Fingers crossed that price comes back. But here's the big one. The 9800X 3D is almost impossible to find anywhere in stock right now, and that has been the case for about 2 weeks. I almost just put out of stock there. And there are a couple of third-party sellers that you can get it from. I don't know how reliable they are, but I'm going to leave it like that. You can see the 9950X 3D I have out of stock right there because I can't find that thing anywhere. But the 7800X 3D, I'm finding just about everywhere for about $390, which is totally insane. $391 right now. For the 7800X 3D, this CPU had also been selling for $479, the same price as the 9800X 3D, because people were so desperate to get an X3D CPU, and AMD basically ran out of every X3D CPU on the planet, both in the fall and now. However, now with at least some stock of the 9800X 3D coming in more reliably, the 7800X 3D has come down to $390. You could actually get it for $385 last week. It's still an insanely performative gaming CPU that you would have been happy to get a year ago. And for this price, it's a nice little discount over the 9800X 3D. If you don't need that extra CPU power, if you don't have a 5090 or a 5080, it might make a lot of sense. Moving over to the Intel side of pricing, and you can see not a lot of change except for a couple of key areas. The i5 12600K, 12700K, which had been insane values, especially for those of you looking to build very cheap production rigs out there, have gone up about 15%. 12400 essentially remains unchanged, which is good news for it because the 5600X has gone up in price basically. So we'll have to see which is the best budget gaming CPU out there right now. Remember, I'm not recommending CPUs that are PCIe Gen 3 only like the Ryzen 5500 or too weak like the i3 CPUs any longer. And then the rest of the stack, some minor downturn in terms of the 13400 and 14400. However, that CPU, just like the 5700X, it doesn't come with a stock cooler that I feel is sufficient for the CPU. It does come with one, it's not sufficient in my estimation. You still need to go out and get at least a budget tower air cooler for it. We see a little bit of price movement on the 14600K. It's down to about $190. But I will say right now, unfortunately, Intel motherboards seem to be drying up for LGA 1700, and the motherboard pricing has gone up a little bit, kind of offsetting that. The rest of the stack here, we can see the Ultra 7 265K. That 25% price cut still makes it $294. Let's jump into the best CPU for gaming 2025 in May, and for production as well. If you're not familiar with how we do this, we take all these CPUs into a big spreadsheet and we get the total cost of the platform. So we get the CPU cost, the RAM cost, the motherboard cost, and the cooler cost if it needs a cooler, and you get a total platform cost. We divide that by either the gaming score or the multi-core score, and those are normalized back to the Ryzen 5600 or i5-12400, and you get a price to performance for both gaming and production. I will say, I know the production scores are still a little bit skewed because it's Cinebench R23, which is not memory latency sensitive, and the Core Ultra CPUs look amazing on that. Of course, any other task out there that is memory latency sensitive, they look not very good at all. So just keep that in mind when we're going through these scores. If you want to jump into this spreadsheet, it's linked down in the video description. You can put in your configurations in here, your pricing, etc. Let's jump into the best budget gaming CPU 2025 in May. So this is where the total platform price is $450 or less. Remember, it doesn't include the GPU, the power supply, PC case, stuff like that. Look at that. The i5-12400 has jumped on top of the Ryzen 5600 finally, and it's because the 12400 continues to descend in price and the 5600 has been ascendant in price. It's going the wrong direction there. And I would say right now, I know people often say, well, AM4 is future upgradability. Not really any longer. The 5700X3D is just crazy price, almost $300. It's almost what the 5800X3D pricing was. And it's largely out of stock everywhere. Where with the 12400, you could drop in a 14600K on that thing in the future if you get a good enough motherboard, obviously. $263 for the platform cost. Pretty cheap out there for the i5-12400. The rest of the CPUs in here, like the 5700X, it's flaws, it needs a cooler. Same with the 13400, 14400, and the 12600K. You're gonna have to spend a little bit of additional money on the cooler. And obviously, especially given the price of graphics cards right now in the budget segment, you definitely wanna dump all that money into your GPU and then just get a CPU that won't bottleneck it. You could also consider the 9600X here as well, especially if you want that free game that does significantly impact the price of the platform, right? So basically a $60 value. So you could say it actually has really good price to performance. But that being said, I would probably go with an older CPU if my budget were super tight. Moving over to mid-range production CPUs in May 2025. So where the multi-core score is 170 or greater and the price is $750 or less. And this is what I was warning you about because it's still based on Cinebench. I will get around to revising it. I haven't been able to do it just yet. The Core Ultra 7 265K looks amazing on this, but we know from independent testing in things like Premiere Pro, any kind of video editing program, anything that's memory latency sensitive, it does start falling down the chart. And in some workloads, it's really not that great, but I'm still not going to say it's terrible. You'd still get good value out of it. I would probably look at the i5-14600K here though, if you want to go that route. Now, why does Intel continue to dominate this? Because they have a core heavy architecture that looks great in terms of multi-threading, but the 14600K is absolutely also good for gaming as well. It's about like a 7600X or 9600X. So 2 thumbs up there, and $479 for the platform price looks great. If you want to buy Ryzen, 9900X looks like an insane value right now with $365 down for that CPU. You don't need a massive cooler for it either. You can really get away with like a $40 dual tower air cooler out there. You get a quality motherboard for it, $685 for the total platform price, and you will get that future upgradability as well. Moving over to the best mid-range gaming CPU. So this is where the gaming score is 125 or greater and the total price of the platform is $750 or less. And look at that, the Ryzen 9600X has finally dethroned the Ryzen 7600X as the best mid-range gaming CPU out there because of massive price cuts. AMD, you finally listened, you finally cut this CPU down to the price it should have been when it first got introduced last summer. It should have been $220, no more than that, more like $200. And now that it's at $208, and I didn't even take into account the Monster Hunter game bundle, although I know more than likely will go away on May 10th. Hopefully, fingers crossed, AMD will extend that. But it's been an insane value, and if you were able to pick it up at the sale price 2 days ago, $185, even more insane, especially given the fact that you can get really good budget AM5 motherboards for like $129 right now, including ones that I like the Asus Tough Gaming B650 M-E. 2 thumbs up. I saw it for $129. Great motherboard out there. Micro ATX for only $129. And it only requires a budget tower air cooler and a DDR5 6000 CL30 kit of RAM, and you are absolutely good to go. Not only that, but you're buying in the platform now, you could always upgrade that to a 9800X3D in the future, or an 1100X3D, or whatever AMD calls Zen 6 X3D, which we will expect to get in about a year and a half time here. So 2 thumbs up. The rest of the stack, honestly, I wouldn't buy the 7600 over the 9600. Spend the extra 10 bucks. That would probably be my recommendation for it. And then it gets hard to recommend. Obviously, no one's going to do a brand new 5700 X3D build, but that CPU, even at $269, because everything else, DDR4 RAM and those AM4 motherboards, are really cheap. Intel kind of gets lost here. The 14600K, not bad. Again, if you're also doing production workloads, that would be my go-to here because it can really switch back and forth. If you're looking for more CPU oomph, maybe step up to the 7700 or 9700X. Do get down to the stack in terms of price or performance. Remember, we're still at the mid-range here, so we're looking for a mid-range GPU. We don't want to overspend on our CPU, so these are the ones that I would pick up. Let's jump over high-performance production before we get to high-performance gaming, which I know everyone's always waiting for. So honestly, again, the Intel Core Ultra 7 265K just comes out looking like amazing CPU because of the Cinebench scores. But we know it's got some memory latency issues. But that being said, what's the competition right there? If you look at the 7950X, even at $475, it just doesn't really compete because it's a little bit too expensive. 9950X is, geez, $516. Although I will say, obviously, you will get future upgradability with that Ryzen platform. And especially if you are going to invest in a higher end motherboard with like a ton of NVMe SSDs on it, like an X870E, yeah, maybe you want to get something that you can drop in whatever Zen 6 is going to be in the future as well. And obviously for AVX 512 workloads, we know that Ryzen 9000 has a lot of uplift over even Ryzen 7000 up there. So take that into consideration as well. Intel here, again, a little bit lost. I feel like this is a category they used to dominate. 14700K, still not a bad value, but again, $674 for the total platform price. It's not that much more performance. I don't see why you wouldn't go with like the 9900X and at least give yourself an out in the future to kind of move up in the world in terms of your CPU performance. That being said, if you want the king right now, I would still probably pick up the 9950X if you're just going to spend all the money, because the difference here in terms of the platform price isn't that big, especially when you factor in like tons of NVMe SSDs and other aspects of your build. Moving over to the best high performance gaming CPU in May 2025, and yes, that 9800X3D does retain its crown. The 7800X3D with those massive price cuts it recently got comes close. However, it does fall just short. But the problem being right now is you can't get a 9800X3D really anywhere. The stock is kind of in and out all over. You really have to hunt and peck for it. And you can pick up that 7800X3D right now. So my advice to a lot of you folks out there, yeah, if you're trying to get a 5090 or a 5080 or something like that, go 9800X3D. I think you're going to be probably happier with that. But if you're like a 5070 Ti, 9070 XT, you don't want to wait around for the 9800X3, or maybe you're kind of fighting that price point right there because another $100 makes a big difference. 7800X3D is absolutely fine. It's available today, and I would snap it up. Now, what are your other options here? Obviously, the 9950X3D is off the table because it's out of stock everywhere. So I just completely took it off the spreadsheet here. Really no numbers to dissect there. It will come back into stock, fingers crossed, eventually. And then Intel, of course, does not have any high-end gaming CPUs other than 14700K or 14900K, but look at the difference in terms of its overall performance. These are not CPUs also with any future life to them. I just don't see how they compete. We're really waiting on the Intel side for, what is it, Nova Lake that we were going to get in 2026, although there is the rumored Arrow Lake refresh that we may get Core Ultra 300 CPUs later this year. We'll have to wait and see on that. Maybe they'll announce something at Computex. But if you're looking to build right now, the 7800X3D and 9800X3D are my CPUs of choice at the high end. So let's play everyone's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait? Now, this game I feel like has gotten a lot more dangerous lately and unpredictable with all this trade war stuff going on. Some of these tariffs, of course, are on timeout right now. There's other tariffs that look like they may go into effect in about a month, the additional GPU tariffs. I would say, especially right now with things like PC cases about to get smacked really hard with additional aluminum tariffs on top of them, I would probably buy anything I wanted right now. The GPU availability isn't terrible. We went through this in our best GPU video. I'll leave it linked down in the video description. You can check that out next. I'll also leave it linked at the end of the video so you can just roll right into that if you want. In terms of CPUs out there, the deals are there. I feel like the deals are there. We've seen the deals. The 9600X at $200-ish. 2 thumbs up. If you want to build a more budget gaming system out there, it's also pretty decent availability in terms of CPUs. GPUs is your rough spot there. But then at the higher end, of course, the 9800X3D is not really that available right now. You may be able to find it. I'm not expecting that they've stopped shipping it, but the shipments might be more intermittent right now, at least in the US, because of the whole trade war thing. 7800X3D is kind of filling the zone right now for it. And I think if you're getting like a 5070, 5070 Ti, a 9070 or 9070 XT, that is an absolutely perfect gaming CPU. And you'll always be able to upgrade that to whatever they call Zen 6 X3D in the future when you want to get another big GPU in a couple of years' time. So I think on all fronts right now, I would go ahead and buy. Really, the only thing you might be waiting for at the low end is GPUs like the 9060 XT. But otherwise, I think the time to buy is now, and uncertainty is heavy in the future. I've got links to everything down in the video description, all the CPUs we talked about here. And of course, if you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. And of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Like, did you check out our best GPU in May 2025? Check it out. We go through all the GPUs. Should you buy now? Should you wait? What's the best value for 1440p and 4K? Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.